Hi there, welcome to the Mahjong Meetup, episode 10. I'm one of your hosts here, Frenetic, and I'm joined here with my fellow hosts, XGO,
Hello, everybody.
and last but not least, Daske.
Hi everyone, I'm Dasuke from the Pacific Mahjong League.
We're going to have an action-packed episode today. We've got a lot to talk about today. I'm going to be covering the Los Angeles Pride of Mahjong tournament that happened this past President's Day weekend, and I'll leave it for the other hosts. What are you guys going to cover?
I'll be
As
covering my I'll be covering my trip from Japan this last couple weeks, and then I'm also going to be talking some about the Mahjong teaching that we did over there at PAX East.
Yep, and I was also recently at the Rochester Ricci Open, so I'll talk a little bit about that. So why don't we
Great.
start with La Palm and Frenetic? Take it away.
Sure. Okay. Thanks a lot, XGO. So, we had the first Los Angeles Pride of Mahjong tournament this past President's Day weekend in the lovely city of Gardena, California, which is located in the South Bay, about maybe 10 or 15 minutes south from Los Angeles. So, we had a total of 28 players that came and played on the automatic tables. So this was a tournament that was run with all automatic tables. Um, Kira, the head of Pacific Mahjong League, came down with some of the PMLers and loaned some Amos Rexes, which you can see right now in the stream. Great time. The rest of the games were played on the Chinese tables, and we used the WRC rules, and it was just a great tournament. Um, some things which I implemented were uh, we had for the finals. Unfortunately, my setup wasn't able to record it. You can kind of see one of the cameras due to technical difficulties, but I was able to broadcast on like a closed circuit television, i.e., a 75-foot HDMI cable that ran from my computer to the room adjacent across the hall from the room. And so what happened was players could watch the finals from the other room without having to crowd the table, and also the players in the finals didn't have like looky loos kind of distracting them from the game, or giving them information. So um, hopefully we can implement that at other tournaments in the future. So thanks so much, XGO and Daske. I see you're putting in the results. So some things from running the tournament. This was kind of the first tournament that I helped run. Uh, Kira, aka Caro from the Pacific Mahjong League, brought down her computer and had their tournament software, where we would take each um, each sumo or wrong and write down those results. And this was live during the tournament. I had printed out WRC rulebooks, which I highly recommend in order to refer. We had uh, some instances where we had to refer to the rulebook, like when there was a Kazuo Yakuman, and then we had to say, "Oh no, that was capped by Sambaimon." So we looked at the WRC guides. Shout outs to you guys in the chat. We got Ansto, Tankman, glad to join us here. Let's see. Um, so we played our first Hanchans for the day, and I tell you, the La Palm members, they run a fabulous tournament. Uh, Very professional, got dressed up. We had running results every round. And then at night, we had across the street, we went to an all you can eat Korean barbecue place. And you can probably see some of those pictures on the La Palm website. We just had a great time. Lots of camaraderie, great players, great judges. So if you guys have any questions in the chat, please feel free to ask. Um, and I think that wraps it up for my end. I wanted to make it short. XGO or Daske, do you have any questions?
Are there any like particular plays that were memorable to you?
So in the first opening Hanchan, Aruta-san from the La Pomme group, was pretty far behind, but was able to squeak out a Kokshi Muso in the opening
Oh,
round, which was
wow.
crazy. And I think that was the only Yakuman in the tournament, actually. So that was really impressive. Like it started out with a bang. Like it goes like people like Yakuman, Yakuman, like Kushimuso, and everyone's turned around and just clapped, and that really opened the tournament really well. Suruta-san, which you can see, is Bishen's Kamicha. He got like a counted Kazue Yakuman, but due to the WRC rules, it was capped at a Sanbaimon. So that was really impressive as well.
Also,
Um,
why don't you tell us who's in the picture? This is the final table at La Palme, I believe.
yes, yes. So as you can see, there's some cameras that's broadcasting each of the hands. Above, we had a fifth camera, which was the iPhone that I'm talking on. Again, we're refining this thing, but we have in the back. Okay, in the first one, the person that's drawing the tile with the striped sweater, that's Totoro Slayer, and he flew out all the way from Australia. I think he was on vacation, was able to reschedule from being on Vegas and then flying out to Los Angeles. Unfortunately, the weather was so bad that he had to take a bus. Now that's dedication. So you can read his fine recap of the tournament on mahjong.guide, which we will be talking about later. So shout outs to them and shout outs to Totoro Slayer. Um, to as we're going around counterclockwise and like draw an order, we have Suro Susan, who was really helpful. I think he's an engineer by trade and was really helpful in repairing one of the automatic tables, the really old Amos Gabines that Lapome had been using before. And then continuing on, we have Bichen, who is from the Pacific Mahjong League. Yeah, repping PML. Um, and he was at the final table. And then finally, we have Tepe-san, who is kind of the Lapom's ace, one of Lapom's best players. And as you might remember out there, Tepe placed second at the PML tournament that we had earlier last year. So fierce competition. And then last but not least, we have the infamous Shisho. And Shisho is a longtime mahjong player. He's kind of the elder statesman of La Palme. Very, very, very strong player, um, which Daske can probably attest to, right?
Oh yeah, he's really good.
I think I've also played him one time at PML.
What was your experience playing with Shisho, XGO?
It was after the tournament, and then my friend and I really wanted to play him at least one time. So we got in the game, and I think there's one particular hand that I remember very well. I was a little bit nervous because I was expecting him to be really good, and
Uh-huh.
then so I was kind of focused on my own hand, and then I didn't really notice anything in the discards too much, and then suddenly like he sumos like a Honitsu like with Yakuhai Mangan, and we were just so surprised, like everyone at the table, because he disguised it so well. And it was also like second row as well.
Wow, amazing.
So that's just
I
one
think
hand that stood out to me in particular. We were just all so surprised.
I I can tell you one hand that but maybe I'll save it for later. But suffice to say, Shisho is very, very good. And if you guys come out to La Palme, um, you can request to have a game with him, and he'll play you. So to play against a very strong player, and for so guys, I just want to advertise La Palme, Los Angeles Pride in Mahjong. You can find me in the Discord, but let me know if you guys want to come. They're open every Saturday and Sunday, and they play all day from 11 a.m. till 10 p.m. And then sometimes we go out to eat afterwards. So if you're ever in the Los Angeles area, definitely go to Los Angeles Pride of Mahjong. So okay, well, I think that's it for my time. Any other questions before we move on to the next part of the Mahjong meetup? Anything from the chat? Okay, well, let's go ahead and get on moving to, I guess we'll hand it off to you, XGO, and you're going to be talking about the Rochester Ricci Open.
All right, so the Rochester Ricci Open took place 2 weekends ago at the beginning of March, like March 4th to 5th, that weekend. And so I traveled up to Rochester, and the tournament had about, I would say, maybe 28, a little bit less than 30 people playing. Most of them were from the local club in Rochester, but we had a few other people from Texas and Canada, and of course Boston, like myself. And I had a pretty good time there. There wasn't really any exciting hands like Yakuman, though I don't think anyone scored. And no one scored a Yakuman, which is pretty surprising to me because every tournament that I've heard about or played in has at least one Yakuman. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, with all the games that have been playing, like in tables, there's at least one.
yeah, and so right here in this picture, this is the final table. So the closest one on the right is Ty. Ty is a New York member, and then and then going counterclockwise, next is Steve. Steve is also a Rochester club member, and he was the champion, so he will be invited to WRC later this year. And then continuing on, we have Christopher. Christopher also another Rochester local. And then finally, we have Alexander, and Alexander is actually representing Canada, so he's from the Montreal club. Um, it was a pretty good game from what I heard, but I didn't make the cut. Obviously, I was very average. Like, I placed 14th out of 28th, like right in the middle.
Okay. Still a
Very,
very, very fine showing.
yeah. I guess I consider my style more just very stable. I don't know, pretty average.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Rochester was quite cold that weekend. Like there was a lot of snow and stuff, so it was good to be inside for that bit. And then afterwards,
Where did it take place? Did it take place at the RIT
yeah, I was at
or the
RIT, the
university?
Rochester Institute of Technology,
Ah, I
which
see.
is where the club, which is where the Nine Gates Mahjong Club is. And then also afterwards, we visited Hamburger Anime, which is the local anime store that Luke runs. And Luke is also a very like a high up member, let's say, like an executive member in the Mahjong Club in Rochester. Let's say that.
Oh, that's great. That Luke Morgan, yes, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. What did you guys do at the shop afterwards?
We were just browsing. Um, they had like a promotion where if you spent over $20 and you showed your tournament badge, you could get free Ramune. But I was
Whoa.
just browsing there. I'd, like they have some pretty cool stuff. A lot of cards, card sleeves, and stuff relating to that. Also, a good collection of manga and figures, and also some video games and Blu-rays and DVDs. Basically, what you
Wow,
expect.
that's great. Oh, if I'm ever around in that area, I'll check it out. Did you make any cool pickups or anything?
I didn't end up getting anything, but
Mm.
actually, we picked up some mahjong keychains. Those were pretty cool.
Ooh, that is cool. That's cool. Oh yeah, that's really great. So I have to ask the burning question. Did you get a one of the famous plates from Rochester? I,
Well, for those of you who don't know, Rochester is pretty famous for these plates, which are basically barbecue, right?
yeah, or
Mm.
they're a mixture of home fries and home fries, mac salad, bread, and then yeah, like your choice of meat. Some of them are barbecue, some of them are like cheeseburgers or hot dogs, red hots, white hots.
Yeah, I didn't actually end up getting one of those, but I did have some really good barbecue, though. So
Ooh,
it was I tried.
Rochester barbecue.
Yeah, the place we went to had like all kinds of stuff. I ended up getting a pulled pork, but it was really good. It's probably haven't had this good pulled pork in a long time, so I was pretty
Wow.
happy about that.
I'm definitely like pulled pork. I'm a uh, pulled pork brisket. Maybe next time you come out to, if you ever get out to La Palme XGO, I'll treat you to some of the F Man's barbecue.
Sounds good. And Dasuke, you were actually at Rochester last year, right?
Yep. I attended last year. It was a very fun tournament, and the actual venue that they had it at was pretty nice as well. They got catering from a local supermarket there, and also, yeah, the garbage plate was pretty good afterwards.
Yeah, I also want to say one thing about how the tournament was run. So I guess here are my thoughts. So as you can see the picture, we're kind of in a, I don't know, kind of an open room, and we all have junk mats. And then they were all brand new sets. So I saw them open them when I came in for the first day. So that was
Oh
pretty cool.
wow, wow,
Um,
that's a nice touch.
Also, they had 500 sticks to use, like auto tables. What they did was they put tape over a stick, and
Hmm.
then that counted as a 500 stick.
Oh, like for a 100 stick, they put like a maybe a black piece of electrical tape or something like
Yeah, it
that.
was basically a 500 stick with a green piece of tape on it.
Oh, that's great.
And
Yeah,
then
I've done that with other ones, and it really kind of cleans up the amount of 100-point sticks that you have. So you're not like fumbling with 10, and you're like,
yeah, but
yeah, oh no.
since we're playing with 30,000 points, you have an overflow of thousands. So, I don't know.
Uh,
I'm more of a fan
did
of
they use an extra?
25,000.
Mm, did they use an extra 5,000-point stick for the
No, they
5,000?
just gave everyone 5,000 in thousands. So you had a lot of
Mm,
thousand sticks flying around.
wow.
So and then they didn't fit quite so well in the junk mat pockets because those are pretty small.
Hmm.
Mm. You
Um,
know
I,
what? What ended up working well at the La Palme tournament, we just gave 5,000 an extra 5,000-point stick to everyone, and that seemed to be okay. Like so, um, yeah.
yeah, I think I'd have to try that out. I don't know how many like thousands you really need for transactions, but a 5,000 stick might be better if you say that works. I'll try it out at my club or whatever. Also, the system they implemented for the last round, so whether it was time up or South 4, any potential last round, they had a piece of paper printed out where each player would write their score on it, so you could see like Tenho style, so you could see the exact point numbers. Since that way you don't have to keep track of it in your head for the last round. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Oh, piece of paper. That's a good innovation rather than just announcing it, right? Some, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a square piece of paper in the center, and then you can see the exact point values pretty clearly and do the math in your head.
Ooh, that's really cool. That's really cool.
So that pretty much sums up my time there. It was pretty well run. Um, I would be willing to go again if I have the chance, but
How long did it take for you to get there from Boston?
the drive was probably a little over 6 hours, maybe 6.5 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we had to slow down
Very
a little
doable.
bit because of the winter weather. But
Mm.
otherwise,
Yeah, you said there was kind of a
other
storm.
people like
Yeah.
flew there.
Mm. Great. I think it's really neat to see. I know Rochester has been running their tournament for quite some time, but it's nice to see that there are more and more tournaments coming up in the U.S. Like um, PML last year. The New York tournaments. Now we're having just more tournaments coming up now. Oh, shout outs to Montreal. That's been a tournament that's been going on for quite some time. La Palme now.
Hmm.
Dallas is coming up pretty soon. Yes. Um,
Yeah, I guess we'll list them out. We'll list those out later.
that sounds good, XGL. We'll do that then.
So why don't we
Um,
wrap this up and then we can move on to Daske.
yeah.
So yeah, um, So this last month, around February 18th, I planned a 2-week trip to Japan. I was going to go over there to Tokyo. I was staying with the person that actually created osamuku.com, which I hope many people know.
Yeah,
Aside
yeah.
from aside from that, David from the USPML was also there at that time with another member, Alon, and Gemma Sakamoto was also there. So the entire, I guess, point of the trip was basically kind of like a 2-week vacation to just go around Tokyo, play some mahjong, and then we were also doing a certain film over there as well.
What kind of
Oh,
film
that's
was it?
So basically, I don't know how much I can actually say about it, but Gemma contacted me and David for a certain film idea that they were doing about basically mahjong, and I don't know when it will actually be released in the future. Supposedly they're going to try to take it to like some film festivals and whatnot. But basically, it covers like me and David, or me and Osamu, as well as like David and Gemma, and how we got into mahjong, why we were playing mahjong, and then getting some pictures of us going throughout Japan, uh, and
So,
mm,
would you say it's kind of like a mahjong documentary about the what you as Western players, I guess?
yeah, I think it's like mainly a documentary aimed at Richie Mahjong. In which case, I believe that their idea with it is for a promotion for this upcoming World Richie Championship. But we'll know more whenever that comes out, so I won't spoil much there. But aside from that, me and David were staying in Shinjuku throughout the trip, and when I say David, I mean the UK David, also known as the guy that made Osamuko. So me and him were staying in Shinjuku at the time,
mm.
and David has never been to Tokyo before, so I'm like, all
Oh,
right,
wait,
I'm
wait,
gonna
wait.
take.
So
Mhm.
is this your first day? Is this your first day like on your trip?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
yeah, I got in on Saturday. David got in as well, and David's never been to any like Jansos before over there, but he knows how to play mahjong. He's been playing in all those European tournaments for a long time. Uh, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take him around to as like many Jansos as I can,
Oh,
and
nice.
so
You're taking him to the genius that descended into darkness.
I know,
Right.
right? So we got in on Saturday and we went and ate food, chilled for the day basically. Then on Sunday we woke up and we took the train to Ikebukuro and we went to the zoo's main store. In
Okay.
which case in Japan there's like two really big mahjong chains, mahjong parlor chains. The first one is Zoo, who is mostly located out of the Tokyo area, and then you
Hmm.
also have Marchao, who is focused around both Tokyo as well as the Osaka area, and then they
Oh,
have some
oh.
other
Speaking
random
of Marchow,
stores.
sorry to interrupt, but speaking of Marchow, Marchow was kind enough to provide the La Palme tournament with some prizes. So,
So I've
shout,
heard.
yeah, shout outs to Marchow. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, sorry about that, Daske. I just wanted to give them a little plug.
Woo! So yeah, so we got in about like 10 o'clock, and the reason why I took him to the zoo, Ikebukuro Zoo first, is because one, it's non-smoking, which is very nice.
Mm.
But two, it's a no-rate mahjong parlor, on one of their floors. In other words, you just pay for like the hour basically for playing mahjong. In which case, if you're ever in Tokyo and you know some Japanese, but you're not really confident in going over there and betting with all these Japanese guys in a parlor yet, especially if you've never been to one, a no rate place is definitely the way to go. Whether that's Zoo's main store or if that's Shibuton in Shibuya, there's a lot of different places that don't gamble, which is great for a beginner. But moving on,
Or you could be like the F man and just
or
go
you can be like the F man,
and just
descend into darkness on your first night, learn mahjong for 2 weeks, and it's like, yeah, I totally know this game. Let's do it.
let's do it. Go to the underground Mahjong Johnso and just get. Well, you've heard of that from past
Yeah,
Mahjong
we heard
events,
about that on previous episodes.
so we
He's
don't need to
definitely
go into
hardcore.
that. But anyway, sorry to interrupt, Daske. Go ahead.
So after the so we played there until about like 5 o'clock. And then we were planning to go to a mahjong study session later that day, and we were playing really fast. And so I looked at the time, and I'm like, okay, it's 5 o'clock, so we should probably leave to go actually eat food and whatnot. But then the guys that were on the table we're playing with are like, come on, just one more, just one more. You're going to this place, right? I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, you'll make it in time. And so we start playing, and then I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, how long does it actually take to get there? And they're like, oh, 40 minutes or so. Uh, in which case we had to be there by 6, and the Hanchan started at 5. If you can do the math right there.
Ooh.
Uh, so we were going over there and playing really really fast, and then the game ended just at about 5:30. So we got out of there and paid. And I'm like, all right, David, thing starts at 6, so we need to run. So we just like bolt down, head to the nearest subway, and then head over there to another part of town where we were going to what is it, Kita Senju, I think. It's Kita Senju's Marchao, which is also another no rate parlor. But more importantly, they were having a mahjong study session, also known as a mahjong benkyokai. And the person that was hosting
Ooh.
it was a pro known as Kobayashi Go, who is also the guy that won the first and second Tenho like Meiji Sen, which is basically like Tenhois versus like famous pros, and then they have a tournament every year,
Wait, I've
and
heard
he
of
won
him.
like the
Wow.
He's like he wrote the digital book or one of them, right?
yes. He wrote, actually, I have it right over here. But he wrote a digital mahjong book, and he is a pretty prominent figure. So he was hosting a 3-hour mahjong study session over there, and so we run up the stairs and finally get there in time, and everyone's kind of seated, and they're like, "Oh, welcome. Are you here for mahjong?" Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're here for mahjong.
Oh,
So we ended
they
up.
double check, right? They're like,
I know, right?
and you
Did they kind of look
are.
at you funny?
A gaijin walks into or a foreigner walks into a mahjong parlor, and their immediate reaction is, "Are you in the right place, sir?" But anyway, so we get sit down for that, and the study session was really cool. I've never been to one before, so this is actually my first one. Uh, Aside from like the improv thing that Moriyama did at the last New York tournament, but this was definitely far more, I guess, organized and central. So he starts off and starts basically explaining like a basic concept. And then he goes into basically saying, all right, now we're going to play everyone with like open hands on our tables, and he's going to come by and watch and like basically like make comments or like talk about different scenarios that occur during the game. In which case, it was quite nice because we had like two foreigners, me and David, on our table, and he just so happened to be at our table out of the three table for the majority of the 3 hours. So yeah, that was really cool.
Oh, so you got a kind of special attention from Go Senpai, right?
Yeah.
How did it go?
Uh,
Did he roast you?
so
Was he harsh on you?
Huh? He was harsh on David, so David's like he looks at David's hand, and he's like, "What are you going for?" And David's like, "Sanshoku."
Oh
He's like,
no, Sanshoku.
and David plays a lot like I guess like Gemma and Moriyama, more like Yaku centric. While Kobayashi goes, if you were to compare him, let's say, to like Moriyama style, or generally like just like the Renmei style, he is like the exact opposite. So instead of like focusing on like going for like big hands like Sun Shoku and all this other stuff, he's very much more like digital, and like if you have like a Dora like first Ricci, go for like Tumon Uradora kind of guy, and so that was really fun to see. But so yeah, so we were playing with that, and we had a blast with him. And then afterwards, I got him to sign my book as well that I brought this time. And so that concluded our day one.
Wow.
Uh,
So, can you tell us a little bit more about your interactions with Kobayashi Go? Like, that might be helpful for people listening in about different styles of play. You kind of talked about that, or his philosophy
uh,
at least.
So there's a couple of different styles of play. Generally speaking, they can be, I guess, split into like digital play, analog play, as well as occult play. Digital play is a lot more focused on, how do you say, uh, like statistics, like probability, basically kind of like looking at a situation, statistically speaking, and going for like the highest return value thing that you can kind of go for. Occult play is more so a like psychological focus to the game. So it puts a lot of focus on like the other players and basically seeing what they're up to and what they could be holding. And then basically trying to trick them in such ways so that you can basically manipulate your opponents to actually, win the stuff that you want. And analog is, I would say, almost a mix, but not really. So analog is kind of like digital, except it's very focused on the situation. Uh, to put it in another way, a digital player would see a situation and then they're like, oh, in this situation, like 85% of the time, this would happen. Therefore, I should do this. Where an analog player would look at a situation and basically say, like, all right, for this given situation, I can see, like, all these different points right here. And so I'm going to be making, like, this specific discard basically for the situation that I'm in. Even though it would technically not be, like, the right thing, like, statistically wise, but because of this extra information that I think I can see, I'm going to do this. In which case, like, Kobayashi Go is a very much digital player. Asapin, the first Tenhoi, plays very, very analog. In his first book, he has an example, which is a very nice example of like what analog play is, kind of sort of thing. And who's a good occult player? Oh, Tsuchida. Um, let's see, what is his last name? Tsuchida. I
You mean his
always
first
forget his
name?
last name. Yes, that one. Um, but Xhime has a article on Tsuchida Pro on osamuko.com. And so if you read that, you can get a more central idea of like what he kind of like his style, which is very much so on the occultish side of things. But yeah.
Oh, thank you for that.
So I have
Thanks
a
for explaining
question.
that.
All
Um,
right.
so what sort of factors do analog players take into account that digital players don't? Like, I'm
Hmm.
still not quite clear on the distinction.
So grabs my book. So analog players are, how do you say, very specific to a situation, not based off just like, okay, it's like the fifth turn and I have like, a single Dora, and then I have a two-sided weight. Because I have this, statistically wise, I should like, reach this hand, kind of sort of thing. Whereas an analog player, I guess, is more, how do you say, likely to make a different decision from the digital norm based off like some specific things. So, dun, 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 dun. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna take a picture of this and actually post this on the Discord so you can put it up. But this is a picture from Asapin's book, which is probably the best example of something I would say defines like an analog situation pretty good. So let me grab that for you real quick. But anyway, in the meantime, so the second week that we were, or the rest of the week that we were there, 3 days out of the week we were going over there to do like all the stuff for the documentary, and then the other days we were going back to the Johnsos. So we went back the next day to go and play at Zoo again, and then after that, David like wanted a little bit more. He wanted to go over there and play like betting mahjong.
Oh.
Ready for the real
So,
deal. I see.
mm, so one of the days before, for like filming purposes, we went to Garth and Jen's Jonso. So they work at a Jonso in Nakameguro called ABC. In which case, if you kind of know Japanese and you want to play mahjong, I would not suggest going there. Even if you're like, I like playing mahjong, I would not suggest going there. The rate is very high, so not as high as like some semi illegalish slash undergroundish places. But if you
Oh,
compare
you.
it to like a regular like 10 pin Janso, it's pretty high up there. Um, so anyway, we go over there and like play some, basically not really play, but we did some just for like the documentary the day before. And so David's like, yeah, I want to go play at ABC with like Jen and Garth. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't think you should do that, like the rate's really high there. And he's like, no, I want to go play with Jen and Garth. So I'm like, all right. So we go over there on the first day and we play with Jen. He definitely got some experience out of it. Uh,
Was it
and
what?
it's
Was
pretty
it
nice as well because
Was it?
they had like free curry.
Was it an
Ooh,
expensive
yeah.
lesson?
It was indeed a expensive lesson. And then after that, came back and We're like, all right, now we're gonna go next. He's like, I want to go play Garth because we went the day Jen was working, but not the Garth. And so I'm like, all right, we can go back, but are you sure? Yeah. So we go back and play Garth, and I had an amazing day. I ended up like actually positive after I think over like 20 Tompusen, which is very nice because the game fee for Tompusens is like $4 each. And then you have to basically get higher than that with the rate to actually be positive. Uh,
Wow.
and David once again got a expensive lesson, but
Oh.
he did good. So after that, I'm like, all right, let's go to some like other places. And we went to Renmei's dojo, which the Pro Mahjong Renmei is the professional Japanese mahjong league in Japan, who is Gemma Sakamoto is actually also a part of, and they're also one of like the really big supporters behind the upcoming World Richi Championship. So we went over there to their dojo, and they play JPML A rules, which is basically no reach, or so you have Richi, but there's no Uridora, there's no Ipatsu, and there's also no Kondora. So it's a mahjong style that is very, very much so. I guess you can predict pretty nicely, just like from seeing your hand and from seeing your opponent's hands, like how much points there's going to be. You can't like
Yeah.
get a random like, oh, Ipatsumo with 3 Uridora.
Do they
And
play
that
with
also
Akadora? Does
uh
JPML A rules
no,
play with
they do not.
Akadora?
So they don't have
Oh.
Red Dora either.
Oh.
So there's no Red Dora, there's no Uridora, there's no Ipatsu. So a lot of like I guess like digital style of going for at least like one like Dora or other Han in your hand with Richi, so that you can get like a Tsumo with possible Uridor or Ipatsu to raise it up to Mongon, doesn't necessarily work right there, because they basically nerfed Richi within the rules, and so you have to think a lot more so like, okay, what like types of like hands can I actually build with this, aiming for a lot more so like San Shoku or Itsu, et cetera, et cetera. But we played there, and David did really good. And it was kind of funny.
Wow.
And it was kind of funny too. Um, on the second day we went there, we were like playing our last game for the night, and one of the girls that was working there came over there and was basically taking our scores from the game. In which case, David had like 40,000 something in first place, and I had like down in the 20s in third place. But whenever they're asking, she's like, "Oh, I don't know. Wait, which one's Daniel and which one's David?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm Daniel and he's David." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, "No, actually, I'm David. He's Daniel." And
Nice,
the
nice
guy behind,
try. Nice try.
yeah. The guy behind her like started laughing because he's like, "Oh yeah, he gets the joke." But she thought it was real, so she's like, "Oh, okay, you're David." I'm like, "Wait, what?" So she was writing Daniel as the one with like 40,000. He's like, "No." So that was pretty fun, a little inside joke when we are going through the rest of the trip. But anyway, after that we also went to Shinjuku Marchao, in which case there's a couple of Marchao stores in Shinjuku. The one we went to was on the west side of the station, and it's a beautiful one to go to, mainly because it's non-smoking. And if you've ever been to a mahjong parlor before, or like even like Shubuton, smoke is kind of annoying, especially if you don't actually smoke. If you smoke, it's wonderful, but if you don't, you'll leave, and then everything that you have on you will smell like smoke until you wash it. So we went and played there, basically for the entirety of our trip, just going back to that place. And David had a blast with that. All the members there are also really nice, remember us by name, and then we get to talk to them overnight. So wonderful place. Also, they have free chocolate,
Ooh.
which I bought a bag of. And I was gonna piece this picture.
Sounds pretty exciting.
Wow. What can you tell us a little bit more about Renmei's dojo? Like, how did that
Yeah.
differ from a Jonso, and what did that look like? And
So, Renmei Dojo was one of like the first actually places to come out with like a like not betting mahjong parlor. In other words, this is like a place where you can go and play the pros. A place where it's not a mahjong parlor where you're just gambling for luck. This is like a mahjong dojo where you can go over there and like test your skills with like the JPML A like A rules. So you go over there and you pay 500 per game. But aside from that, there's no actually like betting or anything. Just
500
going over
yen.
there.
Yes,
Yes,
500 yen.
500 yen
Okay.
per game. But yeah, it's a very interesting place. And also you can go and play like a lot of Renmei pros. They have like new ones that switch out every day, and they have the guy that also runs the dojo like regularly, who's the, how do you say, um, basically kind of like not the owner, but the kind of representative almost of the JPML dojo. But I believe his name is Fujiwara Pro, and
Mhm.
he is also very, very good. So it's a very interesting place to go to, and it's a lot of people.
All
Right?
right. Do you want to talk a little bit about the picture?
Yes. So going back to the question earlier, XGO asked me, what is the difference between a digital and an analog player? So this is a picture from.
Oh, I don't have it up yet. Sorry.
Oh, okay,
Give
Okay.
me
no
a give
Yeah.
problem.
me a,
I was like,
a
what
Uh,
minute.
picture?
so whenever he does have the picture up, this is going to be a picture from Asapin's book. Asapin is the first Tenhoi, and he is also the first Tenhoi to get Tenho or Tenhoi on 2 accounts. So he is, I believe, the first and also the 11th Tenhoi. And for those that don't know what a Tenhoi is, there is a Mahjong online game called Tenho, which is the world's largest online Mahjong game. The highest possible rank on that game is known as a Tenhoi, in which to date there are only 12 accounts that have ever gotten to that highest point, and he owns 2 of them, the first and the 11th. So he's a very, very good player, to say the least. Now, regarding the actual picture, because I'm hoping it's up now. Um,
Yeah.
No,
Sorry.
not
Give me a
yet.
minute.
But that's
okay.
okay. He's just
Well, I can. I'll just talk about some.
yeah.
So this is basically a shot from a East 2 game, in which case it's basically pretty equal points. So yes, the person in question right now is a little up, but as far as the whole game is concerned, it's not going to mean much. So everyone's equal points. Uh, East 2. Dora is the south wind, in which case right now we can't see any of them out there. So on this 8th turn, the player in question, who is not the dealer by the way, gets in Tenpai, waiting on a single 7 Pinzu. Now, the hand that they have right here is a Richi Nomi hand, waiting on a Penchon. In other words, a 8 and a 7 waiting on or an 8 and a 9 waiting on a 7. AKA, it's a pretty bad weight, and also it's a worthless hand. So if we're looking at this hand from a digital perspective, uh, you would not reach his hand because it would basically end up in, I guess, more loss than it would gain overall, especially since you can just change his hand up, potentially, like, keep that 6 of the bamboo, throw out the 9, and end up getting like a double-sided weight or maybe even red Dora. So there's a lot of options for this hand that it can still like advance to. But what Asapin's choice right here to do was Ricci, throwing the 9 Sozu and waiting on his single 7 pin with a Ricci Nomi. The reason why he does this is because of what's on the board. So, right now, he's waiting on a single 7 Pinzu. And if we look at the board, one 7 pin has already been thrown earlier, which was gotten by the person across from him. So, the guy to the left of, or to the guy to the right of him threw the 7 Pinzu. The guy across from him cheated the 7 Pinzu, while the person to the left of him has also discarded a 9 Pinzu. So in total, he has 3 more tiles remaining. But here, Ossipine argues that because the person to the right threw that 7 Pinzu, and also later that 6 Pinzu as well, he argues that the chances that that person has any more of those tiles is very low. Similarly, because the person across from him threw the 9 early on, as well as called the 6 or the 6, 7, 8, he also argues that he most likely does not have any of those 7 pinzos at all, nor can either player probably use them in their hands. Similarly, because the other player to the left threw that 9 Pinzu out earlier, the chance that he has a 7 Pinzu is also relatively low. So, given that's the case, he opts that reaching here would actually be good, mainly because one, it's like the first reachy, but two, his weight isn't as bad as it seems based off what he's seeing on the board.
So this kind of sounds like wall reading and stuff. Basically.
Yes, not necessarily well, yeah, it's basically wall reading, but more so like opponent hands reading. Or seeing like the discards and being like, all right, because they discard this, they probably don't have this. Furthermore, they probably can't use this. Which is important because like you can't read the wall. But if you can read your opponent's hand to a fault, for let's say for instance, one of your opponents is going for a very very obvious honitsu, and let's say the circles. Now, if you get into tempai waiting on something that isn't the circles, if your opponent does happen to draw your winning tile, they would have to continue, or they would have to break apart their hand if they wanted to continue with their half flush. Since
Mm.
that's the case, in some cases like that, it might be beneficial to actually go and do that if you know your opponent is wanting to might fold their hand, or if they're actually going to deal it anyway. So that's basically the kind of like the reasoning that he's using behind uh, the choice that he made here.
All right, that's pretty cool. Thanks for that interesting aside. But
Hmm.
why don't we move on to the next topic, which is PAX East, which would happen last weekend.
Uh,
Both Daisuke and I were there. It's pretty good.
yes.
Ooh, yeah. Take it
Uh,
away, guys.
so I finished work on Thursday, and then I got off at work, came home real quick, packed my bags, and then headed over to the airport for a 9:55 p.m. flight. Then I got on the flight, slept on there, got to Boston at 6:55, waited in the airport for about an hour, and then went to the convention center from there. Uh,
Yeah, PAX
so
East
yeah,
is
that's it.
well, for those of you who don't know, is a really big gaming convention. So Mahjong happened to be there in the tabletop area, but they also have a lot of video games, uh, VR. Nintendo Switch was pretty big this year, but we were at the Mahjong booth, and as you can see in the picture, we had four tables set up. One of them I don't think you can see very well, but we had one automatic table and three hand shuffle tables. And we were there, both me and Daisuke, both teaching mahjong, and there are actually a lot of people interested, more than I thought actually. So that was pretty surprising to me. But I mean, I've been to PAX before, but this year I was actually doing the teaching, so I got like did more of the hands-on dirty work of talking to the new players, trying to get them interested in the game. And it was really loud there, so my voice was pretty strained by the end of it. But overall, good. It was really good teaching experience, and trying to like kind of understand what beginners think and like the thought processes they go through. Like I actually for the first lesson, I sat in with Alon, who's in the bottom left of the picture, and then he was teaching two new players, so I was sitting in as the fourth player, and the way he taught it was very nice. Like I think he's a pretty good teacher. Like when I was listening to it, I was like, wow, this is really easy to understand. Like, and then the beginners like at our table actually like did pretty well. They were able to make hands like within the first few games.
Oh, if I may interject, what did you for our viewers watching, like what did you think that he did was particularly good
I
and
think
that
he
got
went at a good
across?
pace, and he had some pretty good explanations. So the first thing we did was actually like flip over all the tiles and then like point out each of the suits and like the special things and honor tiles. So like these are the circles or dots. These are like characters, and then these are bamboos or sticks. And then note that the one is a bird, and then there are four directions and three dragons. So we went over all of that. And
Okay.
then I never really thought of that because like when I usually teach mahjong, I just kind of throw them in and like briefly explain the tiles, like, but like kind of going slow, I guess, if you have time, is pretty nice. And then we build the walls, and then first play with open hands without calling, and then the next hand we introduce calling with, and then with also with closed hands. I mean, the pacing there can be a little bit different, but first you play open hands and then you play closed hands. And then that's basically and then by that time like your hour is up. So we did like hour lessons and then that's like basic no points mahjong.
Mm.
But afterwards, people could sign up for, I guess, intermediate lessons or advanced lessons if they want to learn more about Riichi Mahjong, which is probably more complicated to learn than it's probably more than you can learn in one day, unless you spend like a lot of time at the booth. But people are busy at PAX with other things, so it's
Do you feel as though
understandable.
you got better at teaching while you were there?
I think I did, because like I I teach a fair amount of beginners, but at my club, but not recently. So it's kind of good to get a refresher of like what beginners think about when they play mahjong for the first time. Since I've been playing
Yeah.
for a while, it's kind of sometimes it's hard to relate about what's obvious and what's not obvious.
Hmm.
Like some stuff like a common question that I got that I wasn't really expecting was can I discard the tile I just drew? Like, but to me
Yes.
that's like yes, that's like really obvious, but because like whenever I say like I'm like maybe my phrasing isn't as good because I always say you always draw a tile on your turn and then discard one.
Hmm.
So I might in the future I might say like you can draw you like, on your turn you'll draw a tile and then from those you can discard any one just to make it
Hmm.
more clear.
Oh.
And for anyone interested, so USPML does this event at PAX every single year. I believe this is actually the fourth year that they've been doing it.
Third year, sorry.
And is it the fifth year?
It's the third year.
Hmm?
I'm pretty sure it's the
Or it's
third
at
year.
least,
Their
or
first
it's at least, or it's at least the fourth, I think, because on the first, um,
the first year was
just that,
actually 2015. So then they did 2015 to 2017. So this is the third year.
I'm pretty sure it's the fourth year. Mainly because when I was talking to Alon, like David had like the really big, like, oh my God, we don't know how to do PAX the first year. The second year, my roommate Kira, she was also helping out, and then they bought a really expensive carpet because they forgot one. The third year, last year I was there, and so this year I believe it's the fourth year.
I'm pretty sure it's the third year because I've been there every year.
But were you there in
I was there
2014?
2014. Oh, I guess not. So sorry about that. I guess this is the fourth year. But I've been there since 2015 for sure.
Okay. Oh, I did
For a
actually find
long
it.
time. Yeah. Yeah. Long time. Nice.
But yeah, so if you're interested in coming to PAX, and you know how to play Mahjong and you want to get better at teaching Mahjong, we always need teachers there. And if you've never been to that PAX itself, it's really cool. So all you have to do is pay for your hotel, or if you live in the area, even better. And all helpers get basically a free badge, weekend badge for the booth itself. So even outside the booth, you can go over there and like do any like PAX event you want, whether it's like the concert or if you're going to any panel. And then of course, being able to teach mahjong here is absolutely amazing. We have three tables there, and we basically like fill them up every single hour, doing 1 hour teaching sessions. And so it's basically kind of like a boot camp for uh, teaching mahjong. And so definitely I would suggest it to anyone that has a club and is wanting to get better at actually teaching mahjong.
Yeah, there's no shortage of students there, as I found out.
And yeah, that's about it from PAX.
Yeah, so that wraps that up. It was a
Wrap
pretty
that
busy
up.
weekend. So I guess the last thing we want to talk about tonight um, is just like a new, like I guess kind of like a news segment about some upcoming events or
Mm.
events that just happened. So the first thing I'd want to talk about is the Mahjong.guide. So we've talked about this last episode and a little earlier today. Mahjong.guide is a new resource that was recently made by Muller, who is from Australia. And then also Rosti has been kind of like a bigger contributor to that. And so last weekend, Rosti organized a tournament on Mahjong.guide. And so there were about there were like less than 20 people, so it's pretty small. But here are the final placings. So in first place, our champion, the mysterious Star. Quite a nice name, Tenho name.
Starcoon. I like calling him Starcoon.
Yeah, and this guy or girl or whoever this person is a 7 Dan, so they're really good.
Oh,
Oh, Star.
yes, Starkun. Yeah. So, do you recall when Starkun like started coming into Osamuko into Discord?
Maybe a month ago or so, but
He,
Cora,
he's
he says that he's been playing for a very long time, maybe over 10 years or so. So very
Yeah,
experienced
Starkun
player.
is a very, very good player. He's also really good in real life as well. Um, Definitely anyone that is looking for advice and they happen to be in the Mahjong Discord, definitely listen to what he has to say because he is a very good player.
So Starkun was playing in 7447, and then I think we were playing, and I was trying to get Korak to come into the Discord, and then Starkun was there, and I was like, you should come into the Osamuko Discord. Here's the link. Here's the link. You know, we posted it in the Tenho lobby of 7447. And so I think he finally came in from that. I could be wrong. I could just be so narcissistic that he did come in from that. But um, he wasn't originally in Osamuko, but was just playing in 7447. And does that sound? Anyways, so.
The mystery known as Starkun.
Yeah.
When will his secrets be revealed?
So
We shall
he's
see.
a very good player. Does that mean that you played with him while you were in Japan, Dasuke?
I've only played online. I played I like some 7 4 7. Those were some pretty good games, I guess.
No comment.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's fine. The mystery of that I yeah, don't need to delve in there. So
Anyways, this
anyways,
is
moving
Rusty
on.
is hoping to make this kind of more of a weekly thing, and then if there are enough people, like if there are actually 20 people or more, he can apply to Tenho, so you can get free Tenho Premium as a prize, but that's only if there are enough
Ooh.
participants. So I think actually, if you go to mahjong.guide, you might find on the forums there might be information about the upcoming one on Saturday. This one happened to be at I guess 2 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, but the time will be different because he wants to rotate the time since the mahjong community I guess is pretty international because the last one was pretty friendly to I guess American players. So I guess he wants to flip it around, maybe make it so the Asian players or uh, more Eastern European players can have a better time slot. So check that out if you have time this weekend. All right.
And aside from that, we have a list of a bunch of different conventions where clubs are doing mahjong events at, as well as several clubs doing tournaments all around North America right now.
So want to list those out real quick, and we can give a
Sure.
little bit of like a sentence each to each one, maybe.
So actually, short notice, but anyone who happens to be in the North California, like Santa Clara area, and they also happen to be going to a anime convention known as AOD. The Pacific Mahjong League is hosting a mahjong teaching section over there, and also if you know how to play mahjong, you can obviously come and play as well. So anyone that happens to be listening to this and happens to be there, check it out. We're going to be teaching there from basically 10 a.m. until like 12 a.m. On Saturday, and then we're going to be there the full day on Sunday as well. Later in April, we have the DFW, which is the Texas group, Mahjong Club, hosting their tournament, which is known as, I believe, the 2017 Ricci Open.
The Dallas Fort Worth, right?
Yep. And that is going to be, what is that, April 8th and 9th. Registration, I believe, is still open. If you're interested in that, definitely check it out. I'll be there as well.
Yeah, but make sure you get
The week,
registration in ASAP.
The week after that, in Seattle, there is another anime convention going on called SoccerCon. SoccerCon is very interesting because the Seattle Mahjong Group does a huge Mahjong event up there. They get this entire room to themselves, which they put in about like 15 different tables, and they have anywhere from like intermediate tables to advanced tables, as well as a lot of teaching tables as well. The people that are waiting can basically go over there and sit up in front of a large projector that is streaming stuff like Kaiji and Akagi and Saki, and it's a basically 24-hour event going on for 3 days. So it's amazing. So if you're happen to be going to SoccerCon, definitely check that out because it's probably the closest thing you'll find to like a mahjong convention, like full time in North America. Dun, dun. Moving on. In May 17th, or actually, I'm sorry, on May 6th through the 7th, in Vancouver, there is going to be a Mahjong tournament that they released on their site. And let me grab the link for that.
Oh,
I
cool.
really actually really want to go up there. I wasn't able to make it to their first Vancouver tournament, so that would be very nice to actually make it to this one. And I believe they're trying in the process of getting what is it called? Everything set up so that they can possibly get a World Reach Champion seat as well. So we'll see where that goes. Also in May, we have in North California another anime convention called Fanime. Um, the Pacific Mahjong League is also going to be hosting a 24-hour Mahjong teaching session there for about 3 days, and also free play. In the, let's see, June, on the first week, June 3rd and 4th, there will be the Montreal tournament. This is going to be the third Montreal tournament. Definitely check that out. The food in Montreal is absolutely amazing if you've never been. So many Mahjong events.
And
And
ASEN?
yes, ASIN. ASIN is going to be going on, I believe, in, there it is, May 19th through the 21st. So this is in Chicago, and they've host basically Mahjong events there every year for the past, I don't even know how many years. I went this last year, and I'm probably going to be going this year as well. It's a really fun event, so check that out. And finally, um, this one is not confirmed yet, but supposedly, Seattle right now is planning for a very nice mahjong tournament in mid-July. So be on the lookout for that, and we will definitely update you with any official confirmation for the tournament.
And I just want to plug my stuff. I'll be at Anime
Woo!
Boston March 31st to April 1st. I mean, March 31st to April 1st, that weekend. I actually applied for Mahjong Panel and it got accepted, so that's pretty good
Yay!
news.
Congratulations.
Uh,
I heard that about that. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how it's gonna turn out. Like, I don't really think Mahjong really has any presence at Anime Boston. Like, so I'm hoping maybe I can teach a panel and then see if there are actually more local players that I don't know about. And then
Do they
hopefully
have a board game role
they do
or
have
a
a
board
board
game
game
room?
room, but the thing is, like, they don't really have tables suited for mahjong. Like when
Mm.
I checked like last year,
Mhm.
so I'm thinking I'm either gonna have to bring like a folding square table or make do on some rectangular tables. It's gonna be kind of difficult either way because I'm gonna have to, otherwise I'm gonna have to like carry tables to the venue for people that want to play.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
hopefully I can make it work. Like my main thing is just getting the panel set, like practicing the presentation, and then just seeing how many people are interested in it. Because I've heard you two talk about doing panels, and it looks like the turnout was pretty good.
Mm. The
Yeah.
biggest thing with I guess like mahjong panels, and I really want to do more of these because it's very interesting actually getting experience with this. Just like teaching mahjong or even playing mahjong, the more you do something, I guess the better you can like get at it because you get the feedback, you can see what works, what doesn't work. But definitely like depending on your time, um, within an hour, more than likely you're not going to be able to teach people like everything about mahjong, and that's technically not that important. The main reason why is because even if you're an amazing teacher and they're like, wow, I know mahjong now, if they don't, I guess, like learn to like it, then they're not going to play it. So definitely like a really big focus for whenever you're doing like a really big, how do you say, like panel, try to get interest in people, whether that's like showing them sake or akagi, or you're just like real like describing like the game and like the mahjong world, or if you do like any little mini events, get people involved and basically get them to like really enjoy it. Because it's when they really enjoy it, then they'll be like, wow, I kind of like that, or it was really interesting, so I want to go and learn more. And then you can get them in your club and play Mahjong every week. And then eventually they'll fly to Japan and become professional gamblers. It's a vicious cycle, but
I see. I see. This is how we brainwash them.
exactly.
Yes. Come to Mahjong. So yeah, XGO. If you want to pick me and Daisuke's brain about how to present the panel and those handouts, definitely um, we'll provide those for you. Yeah, even if you have just one junk mat and one table, or you can, I don't know if you can get a hold of one of the hand shuffling tables. Um, that's fine, as long as you just have one.
Speaking of which, what days are or is Anime Boston?
It's
And also, what day is your panel on?
It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They haven't told me what day my panel is yet, so I can't tell you right now. But I'll let you know when I figure it out.
Yeah, definitely try to enlist at least one more other person to help you out with it. If not the panel, just like maybe the game room and teaching, so you don't get too worn out.
Yeah, I have
split the load.
I know a guy. He's helping me out with the panel, so we're gonna do it together.
Oh, that's great
It's
to
gonna be
hear.
good.
Be really nice.
Another local.
Awesome. Again, congrats. That is amazing.
So are there any other news, upcoming news you can think of?
Um, that I know of, and or I probably forgot.
Anything in Europe?
Oh, there's a lot of stuff in Europe. There's always a lot of stuff in Europe. But exactly what's going on in Europe, I don't necessarily know.
Well, maybe we'll save that for another Mahjong meetup.
Ooh, or maybe we should get a person from Europe to talk about all of the stuff in Europe. Then again, the time that we do
Ooh.
this stream is pretty dismal for any European player.
Same with Japan, but
Mm.
stay tuned. We might have that in the future
Stay
episodes.
Woo!
Yes. Well, I guess without further ado, any questions from the chat? Then I guess this is a wrap. Yeah.
I think so.
Yep.
Okay. Well, here we are closing out the Mahjong Meetup episode 10. Thanks for watching. Big ups to XGO for hosting the stream. It's really nice to have someone else on the Mahjong Meetup. So thanks a lot, XGO. Really helping a lot.
Yeah,
And,
no problem. Hopefully it sounded all right. I'm still working on the settings, but look forward to making it better in the future.
Sounds good. If you guys ever want to have ideas for future episodes of the Mahjong Meetup, feel free to get at us in the Osamuko Discord. I'm there a lot, and as well as XGO and Daisuke. So reach out. Let's do this.
Catch you later, everyone.
Bye bye.